In the last Mish-Mash video, I told you I had decided to go ahead and use a cooling fan to cool down our Hammerlin power transformer. Well, you know, I still plan to do it that way, but I just didn't want to mount it to the back of the, the cabinet or the side of the cabinet. It just seemed to me that that was kind of a trite, overused way of doing it, which is fine. I just didn't want to do it that way, you know. This Hammerlin is my all-time favorite radio. Of all the radios I own, the Hammerlin 129X is just my number one radio, okay? I just like it. I don't know why. Anyway, in order to mount this fan to where it will cool that transformer, I wanted to do something different that had maybe never been done before. So I kept looking and looking, and I eventually came up with this cardboard mock-up of a bracket that I plan to use to mount that fan and put it inside that radio cabinet. And I punched the holes where I wanted them and everything. And I took it into some fellas I work with, and I explained to them what I'm doing, and I said, this is what I need. Do you have any old scrap metal around? They said, yes, we do. We have something that'll probably work just fine. It's about as thick as this cardboard, though. It's pretty thin. I said, that'll work, you know, as long as it's metal. And so they did. They ginned up this little deal for me right here. And this will be the bracket. And I've got to do a little straightening out. It's been in my bag there. But anyway, they cut it out exactly what I wanted, and I think you can already see how we're going to do it. And then I took it down, had the boys chrome it in the chrome department. It didn't chrome exactly the way I wanted it, but it was an old piece of metal pitted with some rust and everything. But after I got it derusted and they chromed it, I'm still happy. I wanted it chromed because I didn't want it to be rusting. Well, there's what she looks like in place. I've got, of course, the long side goes all the way down along the side of the chassis, all the way down to the bottom of the cabinet, and then the short side goes down, just rests on the top of the chassis over here. And just to make sure it doesn't go anywhere or shake, rattle, and roll when it's been carried or anything, I've got a magnet, a large, fairly large magnet. I picked those up at Radio Shack, by the way. They're earth magnets. I got one there and one over there holding that side in place. We'll be mounting the fan on top of the bracket just like you see it right here, and I'm going to use these brass screws, nuts, and washers. As you know, I'm a brass nut. I'm a brass freak. I like brass because it doesn't rust primarily, and it looks cool anyway. Well, there she is, all bolted up. I went ahead and didn't need it, but I went ahead and did it anyway. I put a flat washer, of course, which was needed, and I put a lock washer before I put the nut on. There's going to be almost zero vibration from this, but you know, what the heck. The cost of a couple of lock washers was only about 20 cents total, so I decided to go ahead and do it that way. Now it's time to work on these and get ready for the power source. This is a 9-volt DC wall wart I picked up at the St. Joseph's Catholic Church flea market the other day. It's 9 volts, and it is it's rated at 350 milliamps, which is more than enough to power this. Now, I've already tried it using alligator clips. This thing, according to my multimeter, when it's running the fan, actually is putting out 10.8 volts, which is still good because well, it's not way below, but it's still below the rating, the 12-volt rating of the fan. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to strip these two wires on the end. We're going to gator wire it up to this connector, and we'll see if the fan works when I plug the old wall wart in. And if it does, we're home free. We're ready to go. I've got the yellow lead connected to the center of this plug right here, which is the positive. Then I've got the negative, the black wire, going to the outside of the connector, which is the negative. And the yellow to yellow. All I got to do now is connect this to that. And let's see if the fan's going to come on. If it does, we're about through here. There we go. Look at here. Blowing air in the correct direction. I'll tell you what, it's not all that noisy either. If it turns out to be a little noisier inside the radio, I may have to put like a felt strip along the edge of both of these pieces of metal, something a little softer, you know, to buffet the vibration from the chassis, but we'll see. Well, you know what they say, if it can go wrong, it will. And we have a little glitch, but it's not a showstopper. You know, we're still going to be able to test this thing and run it for 45 minutes. It's Friday night. I just got home from work. I got plenty of time to kill. Don't have to worry about going to work tomorrow. Anyway, I got this thing installed. I've got the magnets holding it in place. The problem I had was these things were flat. These connectors were flat. And I thought they would fit through the louvers on the side of the cabinet. But guess what? They don't. Oh, jeez. Isn't that great? There's no other place I can run them. Even the louvers in the rear, I thought they might have been a little wider to fit these things. But it was just a little bit off. Just enough to prevent them from going through, but that's no problem. I think in my drawer I have a different kind of connector, and if I don't, I can pick one up tomorrow. I'll run down to Radio Shack or something. I'll come up with something. Meanwhile, like I said, it's not a showstopper. We're just going to run it through the top here like so. Just kind of let it hang. And we're going to go ahead and start up the old radio. And then I'll go ahead and plug this baby in. Get the old fan going. In about 45 minutes. Well, you know, come on, not another showstopper, a towel getting in my way. There we go. Alright, she's running. So let's go ahead and shut the lid, see if it affects the operation or sound of the radio. I may have to, like I said, put some felt along there. I don't know. I may have to make a few adjustments, but that's what this stuff is all about. Well, it's been about 50 minutes. I've been sitting here listening to good old WSM out of Nashville. Let's go ahead and open her up and see what happens. First temperature, where's my thermometer? Here we go. Okay, let's go ahead and try it. (106). Boy, now there's what you call temperature reduction. Let's try the clamshells. Way down, way down. Okay, the fan is doing the trick. I still have to put a decent plug on this thing that'll fit through the louvers, and I'm going to have to probably tape this in place somehow, or put some kind of a, I don't know, some kind of a deal up there where, you know, I have these nylon, you know, things that I can put on there that'll help that. Anyway, I think that's about it. Now keep in mind, look, this is not a fix, okay? This is just putting lipstick on the pig. The problem that the problem that causing the heat still exists. We just sort of overcame it, that's all. Something under the chassis is causing a high current draw, which is causing that transformer to get hot. Later on, I'll have to tear it apart and try to figure out what it is, which could be a big chore. But anyway, that's one way of overcoming a heat problem. You know, and I have to say it temporarily, all right? Final note on this thing, I had to remove the magnets. They were holding it in place real good. The problem was they were, you know, connecting the metal bracket straight to the cabinet and causing a lot of vibration. A lot of my noise was coming from that. Once I removed the magnets, and I also put some felt along the edge of the bottom on each side. I glued it on, just wrapped it around the edges, and I put some little felt pads between the fan and the bracket itself. You can see one right there. I put 4 of them around there, so it's running a whole lot quieter. Oh yeah, one more thing. I put a stick-on pad back there on the back of the fan motor, so it presses against there, and it kind of keeps it away from the cabinet. So right now we're running really nice and quiet. So let's take another look at our temperature. I've been running this thing for like, you know, God, must be an hour and a half now. It's probably going to be a little bit hotter. That's not bad. Still very good. Okay, I think we can wrap this one up, except for the plug. I'll put the plug on later on. We'll call this thing, I think this heat issue is over for now. Wifey has made an ultimate decision that'll last forever, I guess. She does not want a wood stove back in the house. It just bothers her sinuses too much after all that work I did, all that research I did and everything. Anyway, we're back to square one. We're going to go ahead and give our original wood stove, our England wood stove, Englander, to my daughter. And it's just a regular old wood stove, you know. I don't want to wrestle with buying wood, splitting wood, and all that crap anymore. So she and her husband do. So no problem. We'll just give it to them. They can have it. Well, but what that does is leave us without a backup source of heat. Yeah, we put brand new central heat and air in our house. What, a year and a half ago now, I guess. But we have no backup source of heat in case we lose power. And you know, Arkansas has a bad habit of losing power in the wintertime with just about any snow or ice. They've done everything they can to try to keep it from happening, but it always does. You always have to be prepared. So I decided, I did a little research, and I came up with this idea of Mr. Buddy. You can get these Mr. Buddy heaters, or this Mr. Heater Portable Buddy is what they call it. And you can get them that take a butane tank on both sides, okay? And it heats up pretty good. I decided to just go with the single butane type, because when you lose power around here, it's usually just a few hours, maybe a day and a half. But you know, we can put blankets up and sort of close off the room. This thing will heat up to I think 400 square feet. You just take these little 1 pound butane canisters and you screw it in just like that picture right there. Screw it in, it goes down, and then you just come over here and turn it on, and kaboom, you know, she fires right up. Each 1 pound can will last, if you're careful, up to 6 hours. I decided to buy one more thing today, and this is exclusively for me. It's a Coleman butane stove, as you can see. I'll be using this when I cook my small Korean bowls, those earthenware bowls. I'll be cooking them on this instead of firing up the large burner on our electric stove. This will be a whole lot cheaper. And it too takes little canisters, and they slide in here. When the time comes, I'll show you how that's all done, or you can just go to YouTube and find it yourself. But I've been looking at these for quite a while, and you know, I was wandering around. After I bought the Mr. Heater Portable Buddy, I happened to come across this, only 18 bucks. I said, I'm taking this too. Got a neat little carrying case with it and all. But you know, mostly it'll just be set on top of our electric stove, and I'll use it for small dishes instead of sucking the current and making the old electricity bill even higher than it already is. One of our subscribers asked, where did I get this this little glass thing with the little bowl that goes in there and all these oils. Actually, it was this oil right here. I told him it was at a local flea market, but my wife said, well, you don't have to buy that stuff at a local flea market. You know, now that you've got the heater and the bowl, you can go to Walmart and pick it up in the candle department. They have all kinds of scents there, and they're a little bit cheaper than these. And I said, all right, we'll go down and check it out. Well, I did, and today I bought warm sugar cookies. Warm sugar cookies. I kind of like the smell of that one. And I also bought a lavender vanilla. Now, the ones at Walmart are in plastic jars. The ones I had earlier were glass. So let's go ahead and put a little of that in there. See how the warm sugar cookies are. We've got about maybe 3.5 more weeks of real hardcore winter ahead, what we call hardcore winter. We might have a little bit of snow, we might have some ice, we may, you know, it all depends on what happens. February's the worst month. But today's a nice warm day. It's like 70 or close to 70, and it'll be the same tomorrow. So I got to start preparing, you know, thinking ahead and preparing some of these raised bed boxes. What I'm going to do is I'm going to dig them up. I'm going to throw some fertilizer in them and get them all ready to go. It's just a little bit of prior planning, taking advantage of the warm weather. Well, that's it. I got me a little jump on the gardening season this year. I don't have to build any raised beds. I don't have to fill them with any compost. All I had to do is just rake them out and fertilize them and get ready, you know. Last year we planted 10 tomato plants, and they weighed down the hoop house so much I tied the plants up to these hoops. And well, you can see we got in over 300 pounds, 300 to over 300 pounds of tomatoes last year out of 10 plants. Well, this year we're only going to get 5 plants. I'm not going to grow that many tomatoes. Now that we got the raised beds somewhat prepared for spring, we're back in the house, and I've got some chicken breasts thawing out. I've got a cup of rice and the rice cooker getting ready to be poured in along with water. I got some ketchup. I got some honey and some low sodium soy sauce and some Worcestershire sauce. And I have an apple. I have 4 potatoes, of which I probably will only use 3. And I have an onion. And I have a nice sharp knife to peel them up. I've got myself a little grater, which I will be using with the apple. And I got a big knife. I've got to get a carrot out of the refrigerator. That also will be here. What am I making? Well, I'll tell you what. I'm going to make one of my all-time favorite Japanese foods. And we've been eating this stuff for years. And it is called chicken curry and rice. Chicken curry and rice. Now you can make beef curry, pork curry, shrimp curry, turkey curry, or just plain vegetable curry. You don't even have to have the meat in it. I like pork a lot. Pork curry and rice is really good. Wifey over the years really, she just has really perfected that. But today we're going to try the old chicken. You can cut the potatoes and carrots to any size you want. That's about what I want mine. Potatoes about this big, bigger than bite size. Carrots about like that. Any size you want. The onions keep separate. I cut the onion in half and sliced it into little wheels about that thick. Once the chicken is cut up, it goes in the Dutch oven first and gets browned, and then it gets removed, and then the onions go in after it to be caramelized. So keep your onions separate. We'll be cooking the entire mixture, the entire curry mixture, in this Dutch oven. So I'm going to need about maybe that much olive oil, because we're going to start out with the chicken. We're just going to brown the chicken. As soon as I get it up to, it's got to be hot though when I put the chicken in, because I just want to sear it, brown it all the way around, and then we're going to remove it and put the onions in. The doggies like it when on cook day, on the weekends when I'm cooking, especially if I'm cooking like pork or chicken or beef or something like that, because I always cut off the fat, put it on a plate, and any gristle or anything, and then the wifey, she'll boil it in water for them later on. They get a nice little snacky, so they'll be in for a nice treat tonight. All right, she's getting plenty hot. Yes. Now we can go ahead and put all the chicken in there. Keep moving the old chicken around. I crank the heat back up a little bit. Just keep moving it around until it's cooked on all the sides. And then we'll go ahead and remove it, because later on it's going to be boiled in like a stew kind of mixture. It's going to get cooked anyway, but right now we just want to kind of sear it all over the place. Get it nice and cooked on the outside. I've got the heat down low, and now we'll go ahead and take the chicken out and put it in this bowl. The next thing to go in will be the onions. Right on top of all this juice you see here, everything. The onions go right in there with it. Now comes the onions, and the intent here is to caramelize them, okay? Break them up and let them caramelize. Same spoon, if I can find it over here. There we go. A lot of sun coming through our window over our sink today. The wife is washing the curtains, and it just blinds the camera and blinds me too. Once these things get fully caramelized, caramelized means clear, they get cooked to where they're clear, and just maybe a little brown tint to them, we'll go ahead and we'll dump in all of our vegetables, and then I'll be putting in 5 cups of water. This recipe I'm doing right now calls for 2.5 cups of water, but I've doubled everything. I've doubled the potatoes, I've doubled the carrots, I've doubled the onions. Everything's going to be doubled because I'm going to take some to work on Monday, and with a little bit of rice and some containers, and give them to a couple of friends of mine. They've never had curry. I'm going to give them a chance to taste it. She is beginning to look good. So now we go ahead and put in our carrots and potatoes. And we stir it around just a little bit. Kind of mix it around with those onions. If I can not hit the camera with the spoon again. Kind of stir it around a little bit, just for a few seconds. Yeah. Now we'll go ahead and add a little water to it. And we're going to be adding 5 cups of water instead of 2.5. That's the first 2 cups right there. Let me finish filling it the rest of the way with 5 cups. Alright, she's starting to break into a simmer, and that's all I really want. And as soon as it does, you know, bubble around the edges and everything, then I'm going to go ahead and add the chicken. We're going to put the lid on it and let it simmer for about 45 minutes. Alright, she was starting to boil, so I got it down to simmer a little bit here. I'll add the chicken, and that'll help it simmer down a little bit. Okay, all the chicken is in. And we're going to stir that around, and we're just going to let that whole thing simmer for 45 minutes. Just like that. We'll put the lid on it. Almost looks like a chicken stew, doesn't it? You know, that's basically what it is until we add the curry. Once we add the curry and a couple other ingredients, that's when it begins to come alive. By the way, you know, curry originally came out of India, and it wound up in Japan. And over in Japan, they have entire fast food chains that, you know, like McDonald's and Whopper or Burger King and all that stuff. They have entire fast food chains that specialize in curry meals. Curry is a big deal in Japan. I'll tell you, families eat it every week. They go out for curry dishes. They have all different kinds of ways of making it. It's one of those. It's almost like the chili in America. You know, everybody has their own little way of doing it, and it always tastes good no matter who makes it. Okay. Oh, the pooches are gonna like this. Little old chicken pieces. If you're using a pan that does not have a non-stick surface like this, you know, cast iron Dutch oven, even though I have it seasoned well, it's always good to kind of stir it around a little bit while she's simmering, okay? We're almost done, folks. We're going to take 2 tablespoons of ketchup, 2 tablespoons of honey, 2 tablespoons of soy sauce, 2 tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce. I'm going to grate up this apple with this grater and make it real fine. And we're going to put it all in there. Meanwhile, this is the curry, and since I'm using 5 cups of water, we're going to have to use both packs. And I'll tell you what, this stuff, man, oh God, it smells so good. I cannot tell you. It's not even in the water yet, and it smells good. So I'm going to break this up. I'm going to put it in our pot right now. Then while it's kind of dissolving and everything, I'll come back around and get this everything in here to be ready to pour in there also. When you remove the curry from the plastic pack, it's kind of a little brick. It's kind of soft, okay? And normally one of these is good for 2.5 cups of water. Well, I'm using 5 cups of water, so we're going to be having to put both of these in the pot. And I'm going to be breaking it up into little chunks like this, so it'll dissolve a lot easier. That's all you got to do is just drop them in there and then kind of stir them around. They're almost like curry bouillon cubes, you know. It's really what they are. But boy, I'll tell you, that curry is an amazing taste, amazing smell. I know why the Japanese like it. Fabulous stuff. All right, let's get the rest of that stuff in that measuring cup. In goes the grated apple. And the soy sauce, Worcestershire sauce, ketchup, and honey. And that is it. We are done. A little bit of mixing, and it's going to be done in just maybe 15-20 minutes. And there it is, all done. The fire is off, and I'm just going to let it simmer down so it's not so scalding hot. See how nice and thick that is? Look at that, just a nice gravy on there. Boy, that's good. And finally, the rice is cooking. Another 5, maybe 8 minutes. We'll be ready to feast. I got a feeling this is going to taste pretty darn good. Ooh, I cannot wait. Smells great, don't it? Mm-hmm. What about, is it good? Is it tasty? Not too strong? I think it's a wee bit strong, but...
No, it tastes good.
Tastes good. Okay, good. That's curry. Mm-hmm. You like that? Mm-hmm. All right. She likes it. As far as I'm concerned, this case is closed. Time to eat. Until next time. Yes, until next time. This is John.
water all the way.
By the way, there's one thing some of you folks have may never done. We picked this up when we were living in Japan too. These are button mushrooms. You just drain the water off them, put them in a pan, cover them up with soy sauce, and then heat them real good and bubble them around a little bit. And I'll tell you what, you don't know what good it is until you tried that.